Ilara's legs ached with every step, the muscles trembling under the strain. Yet she refused to pause, her small frame carrying the massive Barrett M82 across the endless desert with determination that seemed almost superhuman. The sun hung low, casting long, distorted shadows across the sand dunes, her breathing controlled and deliberate, each exhale a measure of her relentless focus. Her hands gripped the rifle tightly, adjusting slightly with each step to maintain balance the desert around. Her a shifting battlefield of heat, wind, and treacherous terrain. The SEALs below had long since stopped mocking her, their eyes fixed on the extraordinary sight as disbelief and awe mingled in the scorching desert air. Every mile became a mental and physical battle, the sand shifting beneath her boots, threatening to destabilize her stance with each step. The Barrett pressed stubbornly into her back, forcing her core muscles to engage with every movement. Each ridge climbed and each dip descended. A calculated effort, her mind processed wind gusts, heat waves, and uneven terrain, simultaneously micro-calculating adjustments for balance and leverage. The horizon stretched endlessly each dune, a new opponent each mile, a relentless gauntlet testing her endurance. The SEALs watched silently, unable to comprehend how such a small frame could endure what they considered impossible, leaving suspense hanging thick over the plateau. Sweat mixed with the grit clinging to her skin, her clothing damp. From exertion, yet she pressed forward, muscles screaming, every joint aching, yet her resolve sharpened with each step. The desert seemed alive, shifting with every gust, the sand resisting her advance. Yet she adapted instinctively, adjusting stance and grip with precision. Her eyes scanned the horizon, measuring distance and anticipating obstacles. The Barrett M82 integrated into the rhythm of her movement, an extension of her body every step, a testament to endurance and mental fortitude. The SEALs observed silently, their disbelief turning into respect as they sensed the magnitude of what she was accomplishing. The wind shifted suddenly, kicking up a cloud of fine sand that whipped across her face, forcing her to shield her eyes briefly and adjust her goggles. Her body responded automatically, micro-adjusting stance and grip, maintaining forward momentum as if the desert itself had become an opponent she could predict and counter with precision. The Barrett remained a stubborn weight against her small frame, yet she pressed on every footfall, deliberate, every movement calculated. The SEALs could only watch in stunned silence, wondering how anyone could survive such relentless exertion and still maintain perfect control, leaving suspense thick across the desert horizon. Dunes rose and fell before her, each incline and decline a test of balance and strength, forcing careful calculation for every step. The heat radiated from the sand, her muscles burning with effort, yet her determination never wavered. Each breath measured, each motion deliberate as she moved forward, integrating the massive rifle into the rhythm of her body. Her small frame defied expectation, every step a challenge overcome, every ridge a victory claimed. The SEALs remained frozen in awe, their previous mockery completely vanished, replaced by a tense anticipation as they observed the extraordinary feat unfolding mile after mile. The sun dipped lower, painting the sand in fiery gold and red shadows, stretching long across the desert landscape. Her legs trembled with exhaustion, her back aching from the relentless weight of the Barrett, yet she pressed on each step, deliberate, each movement precise. Her mind calculated every shift in terrain, every gust of wind, every ripple of sand, adjusting instinctively to maintain balance and forward momentum. The desert seemed endless, every dune a relentless test against her endurance. The SEALs could only watch silently, knowing that what they were witnessing surpassed anything they had imagined, leaving suspense hanging thick over the plateau. A sudden rise in the dunes forced her to adjust her stance and redistribute the rifle's weight, every muscle coiled with effort, her small frame balancing the massive weapon against the uneven terrain. Sweat poured down her face, mixing with the fine sand coating her skin, yet she pressed forward, undeterred. Her breathing controlled her heart, pounding in rhythm with her steps, every movement deliberate and precise. The desert seemed alive, testing her patience, strength, and resolve with every inch of progress. The seals now completely silent, their disbelief turned into admiration as suspense continued to hover over the desert. With every step she took, each dune conquered, each mile passed, sharpened her determination, forcing every muscle to coordinate with precise calculation. The Barrett M82 remained a stubborn weight against her back, yet she moved forward, her small frame absorbing and countering every ounce of resistance. Each breath measured, each step controlled, her mind entirely focused on the relentless challenge ahead. The horizon stretched endlessly before her, each ridge a new gauntlet, every step a test of endurance and will. The SEALs watched in awe, unable to comprehend fully the feat they were witnessing, leaving suspense hanging thick and heavy over the desert sands as the sun touched the horizon, casting long, fiery shadows across the plateau. Her silhouette stretched long and lean across the shifting sand, each step forward a defiance of exhaustion, gravity, and expectation. The Barrett M82, an unyielding companion against her small frame. Her muscles screamed, yet she pressed onward, every movement deliberate, every breath controlled. Each mile conquered, a testament to her extraordinary resolve. The SEALs could only watch in stunned silence, realizing that the impossible was within reach, and that suspense would remain suspended until she crossed the final stretch. Alara's small frame pressed forward, each step deliberate, each breath measured, the Barrett M82 pressing heavily against her back muscles, screaming from exertion, yet her determination unyielding. The horizon stretched endlessly before her, dunes rising and falling like waves frozen in time, the desert shimmering with heat and possibility. Every gust of wind shifted the sand beneath her boots, forcing micro-adjustments in stance and grip, every movement precise and controlled. Her mind merged with the rhythm of her body, every calculation from balance to leverage executed instinctively, as if the massive weapon had become an extension of her own strength. The sun hung low, casting fiery streaks across the desert sky, long shadows stretching behind her with each step she took. Her legs burning, her arms quivering, yet her forward motion never faltered. Each dune she climbed, each decline, she descended, a testament to endurance and focus. Her eyes scanned the shifting terrain, measuring every ridge and dip, anticipating obstacles, while her core muscles coiled and released with precision. The SEALs remained silent, witnesses, their disbelief and awe mingling with suspense as they realized she was approaching the culmination of the impossible challenge. Every mile now felt heavier, the sand beneath her feet, resisting her advance, each step a battle against fatigue, gravity, and relentless heat. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly into her back, each movement requiring careful micro-calculations to maintain balance and momentum. Sweat soaked her clothes, sand clinging to her skin, a gritty reminder of the desert's relentless testing. Yet she pressed on, her mind laser-focused on the finish line, each breath synchronized with movement, each muscle engaged in perfect rhythm. Her small frame defied every expectation, her determination unwavering as the final stretch of the 15-mile journey loomed ahead. The wind shifted suddenly, carrying a swirl of sand across her face, forcing her to adjust her goggles and shield her eyes briefly. Her hands gripped the rifle instinctively, adjusting for the slight shift in weight, each movement controlled and precise. Her body moved forward as a single unit, the desert testing her endurance. With every inch of progress, her heart pounded, her lungs burned, yet her resolve only sharpened. Each step was a defiance of expectation. Each dune conquered a victory against the impossible. The SEALs below watched in stunned silence, the suspense of the moment thick in the hot desert air. Her legs trembled with exhaustion, her back aching from the relentless weight, yet she pressed onward every step, deliberate, each breath controlled, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon, measuring the remaining miles each dune, a test of endurance and will. The Barrett. M82 seemed heavier than ever yet. Her small frame carried it with rhythm and precision, each movement integrated into the larger calculation of balance and forward momentum. The desert stretched endlessly before her, each footfall a triumph over gravity, fatigue, and heat. The SEALs could only watch transfixed, their disbelief and awe merging as they realized she might complete the impossible. The sun touched the horizon, casting long shadows. Across the sand, the desert glowing in molten gold and crimson. Her muscles burned, her breathing heavy, yet every motion deliberate, every step calculated. Her mind processed the shifting terrain, the heat waves, the weight of the Barrett the slightest. Wind gust all at once, micro-adjusting stance and grip instinctively. Each dune she crossed a victory, each footfall a testament to her extraordinary endurance and skill. Her small frame pressed onward, defying every expectation, the SEALs now silent, in awe as suspense lingered over the plateau. Every step became a battle between willpower and exhaustion, each movement a test of strength and focus. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly against her back, yet she moved forward, integrating the massive weapon into the rhythm of her body, every muscle coiled and released in perfect timing. The desert seemed alive, each gust of wind, each ripple of sand, a new challenge to overcome. Her eyes fixed. Ilara paused briefly atop a ridge, letting her eyes scan the endless desert stretching in all directions. The horizon, a wavering line of heat and sand, her muscles screaming in protest, yet her mind sharper than ever. Her grip on the Barrett M82 never faltered, adjusting the massive weapon slightly against her shoulder, testing balance and leverage, each movement precise and deliberate. The SEALs below whispered in astonishment, their mockery long forgotten, replaced by silent disbelief as they realized the scope of the task she had undertaken. 15 miles of relentless desert lay ahead, each step a battle against gravity, fatigue, and the unforgiving terrain. The sun climbed higher, casting searing heat across her back, the sand radiating warmth with every step, forcing sweat to drip and mix with the grit clinging to her skin. Yet Ilara pressed onward, micro-adjusting her stance with each shift in the terrain, using every muscle in her body to stabilize the rifle, her small frame seeming almost impossibly strong against the massive weapon. The wind picked up, carrying clouds of fine sand into her eyes and mouth, forcing her to squint, grit her teeth, and continue her relentless march. The desert seemed alive, testing her endurance with every undulation, every hidden dip and ridge. Her boots sank deeply into the sand, each step a small battle, her calves burning as they propelled her forward, her core engaged to prevent the Barrett from tipping as the uneven ground threatened to pull her off balance. Each breath measured, each exhale controlled a rhythm of persistence and focus. Her mind calculated every slight incline, every gust of wind, every shimmer of heat between her and the end of the journey, while the SEALs remained frozen. In awe, their disbelief now tinged with respect, as they watched her tiny frame carry what should have been impossible across miles of barren desert. The dunes rose and fell like waves frozen in time, challenging her balance and endurance, forcing her to adjust every step to maintain forward momentum. The Barrett M82 remained a constant weight against her small frame, forcing her to micro-calculate every movement against the shifting sands. Her hands ached from gripping the weapon, her shoulders screamed in protest, but she refused to stop, pausing only to adjust stance and grip before continuing the relentless journey. The SEALs had stopped moving, entirely silent witnesses to her feat, their previous laughter replaced by awe and anticipation. Each Mile past felt both endless and fleeting. Her body fatigued, yet her determination relentless as she pushed through the heat and the weight. The wind shifted, suddenly kicking up a cloud of sand, forcing her to lower her goggles and shield her eyes. With her forearm, the Barrett M82 shifted slightly, threatening to throw her off balance, but she countered instantly, adjusting her stance and using every ounce of core strength to stabilize the massive weapon. The desert seemed to taunt her every step, a calculated test of endurance, patience, and willpower, while the SEALs watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the physical and mental fortitude required. Sweat soaked through her clothes, sticking grit to her skin, her muscles trembling. Yet her small frame moved forward with a rhythm born of sheer determination. Each dune conquered a small victory, each step forward a defiance of expectation. The horizon continued to stretch endlessly, the heat waves creating illusions of movement, distance and difficulty forcing constant recalculation with each footfall. Her breathing controlled her focus, unwavering, her mind merging with the rhythm of motion and balance as the Barrett became an extension of her body. The SEALs now completely silent, their eyes tracking her every movement, wondering if she could truly endure the remaining miles. The sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows that stretched across the dunes, elongating obstacles and forcing her to adjust calculations. Her legs burned with exhaustion. Her back ached from the relentless weight. Yet her forward motion never faltered, each step deliberate, each adjustment precise, as she carried the Barrett M82 through dunes that seemed impossibly steep, and sand that shifted treacherously beneath her boots. The desert seemed alive, testing her willpower with every shifting gust and every ripple in the sand. The SEALs watched, transfixed, sensing that she had reached a level of endurance and determination few could comprehend. A sudden gust of wind swept across a ridge, kicking up a swirl of sand that hit her face, forcing her to tighten her grip and lower her goggles for a few moments. Her body adjusted instinctively, shifting weight and stance to counterbalance. The shifting terrain, the Barrett M82 pressing heavy and stubborn against her small frame. Her heart pounded each beat, a mixture of strain, exhilaration, and determination, the desert stretching endlessly in front of her, miles and miles of unforgiving terrain demanding every ounce of focus and strength. The SEALs could only watch, silent and amazed, as suspense hung thick over the plateau. Every dune climbed, every mile conquered, brought her closer to the invisible finish line, her muscles screaming, her lungs burning. Yet her mind entirely focused on the next step, the next adjustment. Her small frame pressed forward like a machine of endurance and precision. The Barrett M82, a weight that should have stopped her, yet instead became part of the rhythm of her motion. The wind howled, shifting sand around her, creating mirages and illusions of distance and height that threatened to disorient, yet she adjusted with perfect timing and calculation. The SEALs remained frozen in awe, their disbelief, replaced by admiration and suspense, wondering if she would truly complete the impossible journey. As the sun dipped lower, painting the desert in golden hues, her shadow stretched long behind her. Every step, a battle against fatigue, gravity, and relentless heat. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly against her body, yet her determination never wavered. Each breath controlled, each movement deliberate. As she forged ahead mile after mile, the horizon seemed infinite, yet she pressed forward, every ounce of strength and focus converging into one relentless drive. The SEALs watched silently, sensing the enormity of what they were witnessing. Suspense lingering over the sands as the impossible feat still awaited its completion. Elara paused briefly on a high dune, letting her eyes sweep over the endless desert. The heat waves rising from the sand, shimmering and distorting the horizon. Each ridge a challenge, each mile a test of endurance. The Barrett M82 pressed heavily against her back, every muscle taut with effort, yet she refused to yield, adjusting the strap and leaning forward to redistribute the weight. Her small frame seemed impossibly strong against the massive weapon, a contradiction that drew the astonished eyes of the SEALs watching, silently from below. They had stopped speaking entirely, their previous mockery replaced by awe as she pressed onward into the relentless desert. The wind picked up, carrying fine grains of sand that stung her exposed skin, forcing her to blink rapidly and adjust her goggles. The Barrett shifted slightly with each gust, yet she compensated instantly, her hands gripping the weapon with practiced precision, each micro-adjustment keeping her balanced and moving forward. The desert seemed alive, testing her with every rise and fall, every hidden ridge and unstable patch of sand, her mind calculating the forces acting against her body, every step, a small victory over exhaustion and gravity. The SEALs could not believe what they were witnessing there. Whispers of doubt now replaced by stunned silence and anticipation. She began the descent down the dune, her legs absorbing the uneven terrain. Each step measured to prevent slipping the weight of the rifle, a constant and stubborn reminder of the challenge she had accepted. Her breathing remained steady, controlled each exhale, deliberate to maintain stamina and focus. The desert stretched endlessly ahead, each dune blending into the next, a continuous rhythm of heat, sand, and motion that demanded her absolute attention. The SEALs watched, transfixed, some shading their eyes from the glare, others leaning forward as if to understand how someone so small could endure so much, leaving suspense heavy in the desert air. Her boots sank deeply into the sand, forcing every calf muscle to engage her core, tightening with each step as she carried the Barrett across the shifting terrain, every incline a battle, every decline a careful calculation, the weight threatening to pull her off balance. Yet she adjusted instinctively. Her mind calculated wind direction, sun, angle, sand, density, and muscle fatigue. Simultaneously, a constant stream of data feeding her every movement. The desert seemed infinite, an endless gauntlet designed to test human endurance. And yet she pressed onward, defying expectation with each step. The SEALs, now silent and immobile, their disbelief mingled with awe as the small figure continued her relentless march. Sweat soaked her clothes, sticking grit to her skin, her arms quivering under the strain, yet she refused to pause. Each movement, deliberate, each step calculated to maintain momentum and balance. The Barrett M82 became an extension of her body, its weight integrated into the rhythm of motion, her breathing, synchronized with her steps, a controlled rhythm against the chaotic resistance of the desert, the wind picking up, carrying clouds of sand across her path, forcing micro-adjustments that tested every ounce of focus. The SEALs could only watch, amazed, wondering if she would survive the relentless desert and the seemingly impossible weight. The sun sank lower, casting long, distorted shadows across the dunes, the horizon a wavering illusion of distance and challenge. Each ridge conquered a small victory, every mile a testament to her determination. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly against her small frame, each step a battle against fatigue and gravity. The desert seemed. Ilara adjusted the straps of the heavy Barrett M82 across her shoulders, feeling the coarse weight press into her back and legs, every muscle tensing to support the massive weapon. The desert stretched endlessly before her, sun blazing and sand shifting, with every gust of wind mocking her small frame as if daring her to fail. She took a deep breath, inhaling the dry, hot air, letting it fill her lungs and sharpen her focus. The SEALs nearby snickered under their breath, exchanging glances of disbelief, as if the impossible task was already a spectacle bound for failure. Her boots sank slightly into the sand, each step deliberate, measured as she began the grueling trek across the plateau. 15 miles of relentless desert lay ahead, her eyes squinting against the sun, shimmering heat waves creating illusions of movement and distance. The Barrett M82 pressed heavily on her back, a constant reminder of the weight and the challenge. But Ilara's jaw tightened, determination hardening her resolve. As she set one foot in front of the other, the soldiers watched incredulously, some shaking their heads, others muttering that she would never make it across the unforgiving terrain. The wind picked up, carrying grains of sand that stung her skin and filled her eyes, forcing her to blink and adjust her goggles. Each gust shifted the massive weapon, slightly threatening to throw off her balance, yet she compensated with minute adjustments, leaning forward, pressing her heels into the sand and engaging every core muscle to stabilize her body. The desert seemed to stretch further, the horizon, an endless ribbon of heat and dust stretching toward a distant mirage that whispered exhaustion and defeat. But she refused to yield. Every few steps, her fingers itched from gripping the barrel, adjusting her stance to prevent slippage, the rifle shifting slightly with the uneven terrain. Her heart pounded a rhythmic drum against her ribs, echoing her determination and the intensity of the desert. Sun burning down from high above her, breathing remained steady, despite the weight each inhalation, a conscious effort to maintain control and focus on the next step, the next dune, the next mile. The SEALs still watching, their disbelief growing as her small frame carried the massive weapon across a landscape that seemed impossible to conquer. She passed jagged rocks and patches of coarse sand that threatened to twist her ankle or unbalance the massive weapon. Each challenge a test of endurance and mental fortitude. Yet she pressed on the desert, mocking her with its heat waves and shifting sands, each mile a gauntlet designed to crush the weak. The Barrett M82 remained stubbornly heavy, but she refused to let it dictate her pace or her resolve. Every inch of progress a small victory, and every glance from the SEALs a mixture of awe and shock. The sun moved lower, casting long, distorted shadows across the sand. Ilara's reflection on the horizon shimmered like a mirage, her silhouette, small against the vastness yet unyielding. Her muscles burned from the strain, the rifle a constant weight against her body, but she felt a surge of determination that pushed her forward each step, another testament to endurance and grit. The SEALs had stopped laughing, their whispers fading into silence, replaced by silent observation, as if even they sensed the extraordinary effort unfolding in front of them. Suddenly a dune rose steep and unyielding before her, forcing her to shift her stance and use every ounce of leverage to haul the rifle up the incline. Her legs burned with exertion, sweat mixing with the sand on her skin, creating a gritty resistance against every movement. The desert seemed alive, a living opponent testing her willpower and strength with each step. The Barrett M82, an extension of her body, balancing the impossible challenge against her determination. The SEALs watched in stunned silence, their previous mockery evaporating as she disappeared over the crest, leaving only anticipation and disbelief behind. As she crested the dune, her chest heaving and her vision shimmering from heat exhaustion, she paused briefly, adjusting her grip on the massive weapon. The horizon stretched endlessly beyond the next dune, the desert still holding 15 miles of relentless sand and sun between her and the finish line. Each step forward a battle against gravity and fatigue, each breath a reminder of the intensity of the task ahead. Yet she pressed onward, her small frame carrying the seemingly impossible weight, leaving the SEALs staring in awe, wondering if she would truly defy every expectation. The wind shifted again, carrying a cloud of dust across the plateau, her goggles fogging slightly, yet she refused to pause, adjusting them quickly and maintaining her forward motion. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly against her back, every dune a new calculation of balance and leverage, each step a test of endurance. The desert seemed endless, the sun lowering in the sky, shadows lengthening, stretching her perception of distance and challenge. The SEALs had stopped their laughter entirely, their disbelief now tinged with respect, yet the question remained, Would she make it across the remaining miles, leaving suspense? Suspended over the desert and the monumental task, yet to unfold, Ilara shifted the weight of the Barrett M82, slightly adjusting the strap against her shoulder muscles, screaming with exertion, but refusing to relent. The desert stretched endlessly. In every direction, heat waves rising from the sand, distorting the horizon and testing her perception of distance. Her boots sank with every step, her calves burning the weight, pressing harder with each mile. The rifle, a relentless reminder of the challenge she had willingly accepted. The seals had fallen silent, some shading their eyes, watching her tiny frame move across the vast landscape in disbelief, while others whispered that no one could endure such a task without faltering. The wind picked up suddenly, swirling grains of sand around her, stinging her skin and filling her eyes, forcing her to blink and adjust her goggles. The Barrett shifted slightly with the uneven terrain, but she tightened her grip, leaning forward, using every ounce of her core strength to stabilize the massive weapon. Each step became a careful calculation, balancing forward momentum with the shifting resistance of the desert sand. The horizon seemed to stretch further, the sun beating down relentlessly, forcing sweat to run in rivulets down her neck while her small frame carried what most would consider impossible. Every few steps, a jagged rock or hidden dip in the sand threatened to twist her ankle or unbalance the heavy rifle, but she adjusted, instinctively using her hands to shift weight over the uneven terrain. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears, a rhythmic drum of endurance and determination, echoing the silent challenge she had accepted. Her breathing remained controlled, each exhale, a conscious effort to maintain strength, focus, and momentum as she forged ahead through the relentless desert landscape. The seals could no longer mask their astonishment, their previous mockery replaced with silent observation and awe as her figure pressed forward mile after mile. The distant dunes shimmered in the heat, the illusion of movement deceptive yet demanding her utmost attention. She paused briefly atop a small rise, adjusting the Barrett against her shoulder, feeling the weight settle, and shift her back and arms, protesting but refusing to yield, sweat mixed with sand, creating a gritty resistance against her skin. But her resolve hardened with every step. The desert seemed alive, testing her endurance with every shifting gust and uneven mound, each mile an invisible opponent daring her to fail. The seals watched silently, their disbelief slowly morphing into grudging respect as her small frame persisted against the seemingly insurmountable challenge. The sun hung high and merciless, casting long distorted shadows across the sand, each dune a new obstacle in her path. The Barrett M82 pressed stubbornly into her back, threatening to pull her down with every step, but she adjusted, continuously micro-calculating balance, and leveraged her mind focused entirely on the next footfall, the next inch of progress. Each movement deliberate, each breath controlled, a dance of precision against fatigue and gravity as she pressed forward. The seals now completely silent there, eyes tracking every step, unable to comprehend fully the sheer determination required to carry such a massive weapon across endless desert terrain. A sudden gust of wind swept across the plateau, lifting sand and stinging her skin, forcing her to adjust her goggles and stance instantly. The Barrett shifted slightly with the uneven terrain, but she compensated seamlessly, adjusting her grip, her body a finely tuned machine, responding to the desert's every challenge. The horizon seemed to stretch endlessly, teasing her with distance, while the weight remained a constant test of endurance. Her legs burned from exertion, her arms quivered with effort, but her determination hardened with each step, leaving the seals staring in awe and disbelief, wondering if anyone could endure such a trial. The dunes rose and fell before her, each incline demanding careful calculation and control as she hoisted the massive rifle over her shoulder and pressed forward. Her sweat-soaked clothes clung to her body, her muscles burning with effort, yet she refused to pause. The desert seemed to taunt her every step, a battle against gravity, heat, and fatigue. The Barrett, a relentless companion, testing every ounce of strength, her mind calculating each adjustment instinctively. The seals had stopped moving entirely, their whispers replaced by silent astonishment as her small frame pressed onward mile after mile, leaving suspense suspended in the dry desert air. The sun dipped lower, stretching shadows. Across the dunes, the horizon, an endless expanse of sand and heat waves shimmering with intensity. Each step forward a small victory against exhaustion, gravity, and relentless terrain. Her body ached.